I'm going to teach you how to optimize for mobile devices within Cornerstone and the X theme. So as you'll notice, we have three sections here on the left. Every single section is broken into rows and into columns. So if I were to click on a element, which an element sits inside of a column, column inside of a row, row inside of a section. So if I click on an element here, I can see up here across the top a little breadcrumb here. So we've got classic gap, goes to column, goes to row, goes to section. Okay, so anytime you're going to pull in an element, you're going to click on here, you'll find your whatever element you're wanting, you'll just take it and you drag it, you drag it in into the respective column, okay? And then on the left side, it shows up what you would want to put in there. So I could type in something right here, and that's going to show up on the right side over here, right there, okay? But I don't want this. So anyway, what we're doing here is we're going to optimize for mobile. What do I mean by that? So if I come over to here, this page looks pretty good on this on my laptop right now. But as I start to drag this screen size in, look what happens. The resources comes out of the white box. These all go on top of each other, and this starts to shrink a little bit in here. So what we have to do is create a way for this to look good on all devices. The way that we do that is by utilizing the hide screen functionality. So what do I mean by that? So if I click on this little magnifying glass right here, I can scroll down and there's going to be a hide based on screen width. So right now I'm actually hiding this section on portrait mode, mobile, landscape mode, mobile, and so I'm just hiding. So if you'll notice I have those two selected. So that means that if I were to go down here, so I can click on this little icon, and this is going to pull up the different screen sizes. So I can click on this, and if you'll notice the header is hidden. It's hidden for the landscape mode mobile, and it will not be hidden for tablet. So there it is right there. Okay. So if I wanted to hide on all of these devices, I would do that. And now I can't see it at all. Okay? So, but I don't want to do that yet. What I have to do then is create separate sections for every single screen size that does not look good. So if you'll notice that this does not look good on, this is basically showing us a laptop version right here because it is a shrunk down version. Even though it says 1200 pixels and up, it's actually showing me the laptop version. Now if I was on a desktop, that would be different. I would actually be seeing the desktop version. So I'm actually editing right here when I'm clicking in here. I'm actually editing the laptop version. So if I wanted to edit just desktop, I would actually have to be editing from this section right here, which this is going to pull up an outline where I can also edit from here. Sometimes using this is a little bit quicker than looking at it on the front end. But anyway, I will get back to that there in a second. So let's say I want to go ahead and create the tablet version of this to make sure that it looks good on tablet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate section 1 by clicking that button right there, okay? So now I've got a duplicate, and now I need to name it. So I double click in there, and I'm going to put section 1 tablet. And here I want to put section 1 desktop, and I'm also going to make a section for section 1 laptop, tablet, and then I'm going to duplicate it again. So if you notice, I'm making one for every section because this is a weird section. Sometimes we'll only have to make 2 duplicates to make it look good on all sections, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new section for every single one of these. This is going to be section 1 landscape mobile, and I'm going to leave it at there. I may not have to create a portrait mobile, but we'll see. Whoops, doesn't look like that wanted to take. Looks like I've got a copy in there. Let's come over into here. Whoops, not quite there yet. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to make sure that all of these are hidden on their respective sections. So if you notice, I'm seeing like duplicates of all of these. Now as I come through here, so section 1, desktop, I'm going to click the magnifying glass. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to make sure that this is hidden on, if you select it, it means it's going to be hidden. So I'm going to select portrait mobile, landscape mobile, tablet, and laptop. So that's going to hide on all of those sections. Now I want to go back over to layout. I'm going to click on section 1, laptop. Now I'm going to hide on everything that is not laptop. Scroll down, so boom, boom, tablet, and then I'm also going to hide on desktop. Make sure that doesn't go on desktop. Now I'm going to go to tablet. I'm going to scroll down and make sure that everything is off aside from tablet. And then I'm going to go do the same exact thing for the landscape mobile. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. So now if I go look at my different screen sizes, I'm only going to see one of these sections now. There's that. If I highlight over this, oh, I'm not going to be able to see it on this. There's that. Now there's only one. That looks like we're going to have to edit that pretty a lot. And then this is, there's nothing being shown on mobile, which means I would need to go to landscape portrait right here, and I would need to make sure that this is selected off. Okay, but we may have to create another section just in case. Okay, so let's go ahead and start editing this for tablet. So the easiest way to do, so I'm basically going to completely be creating a new design inside of the tablet version. So when I edit this on here, it's not going to affect the laptop version. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to shrink down this text by clicking header 2 instead. Let's see if that does it. Perfect. So that's literally all we had to do on that. And I'm going to do the same on the laptop version. So I'm going to shrink this down to that. And I'm going to leave the desktop version. If I go here, I can see that this version, this is my section 1, I believe this is my section 1 desktop. Yep, right there, it's hidden. I'm going to leave this one alone because it looks good on a desktop and I'm sure of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit save down here and let's take a look at our work. So as you'll notice, when we were seeing this, so now we just edited the tablet version, so this should not affect the front end here. A large laptop is actually going to show the desktop version. It's based on pixel size, not device. So I have a large MacBook Pro, so it's actually showing me the desktop version. So now as I start to shrink this down, we should see this once it hits under 1200 pixels, it's going to shrink that down into a header 2. Sometimes there's a little, there you go, boom, and now this should shrink one more time. We're on tablet mode right now, so now we haven't edited the other 2 yet, so this is probably going to get big again. Yep, just like that. So what we need to do now is we need to go in and make sure that we edit the landscape mobile mode. Okay, so I need to go select right here. Whoops, that's tablet. We're going to do this. Okay, so this is one of those things where it's going to get a little tricky. We're not going to be able to make this thing look exactly the same. It's just kind of the nature of the game is we're going to have to kind of change the design just slightly to make this thing look okay. So I'm actually going to change the entire makeup of this section. So I'm going to go to Manage Layout, and I'm looking at 3 sections here. I don't need 3 sections on mobile, so I'm actually going to move my, I'm actually just going to make 1 section here. I'm going to combine this into 1 section, just like that. Okay, so now I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet to make this thing look good, but let's take a look at what we have here. So this is based on some CSS down here, so it looks like if we change this, maybe we can actually get what we need. We go down to a padding 5. Oops, that's the top and the bottom padding. We need to edit, let's see here, what can we do? We got a background color. Maybe it's because this is centered. Let's see if that changes it. Nope. Okay, so this is one of those things where we may actually leave it like this. We may want to maybe make this size a little bit smaller, at least make this a little bit more manageable, looking a little bit better. Okay. And let's go ahead and hit save and let's see how this looks on the front end. So as you'll notice, this kind of looked a little bit, I don't know, we'll see how it looks. I want to pull this up a little bit. So we hit that refresh. This should pull this up a little bit. Good. And I'm going to shrink that size down to a header 2 instead, because that's a little bit in your face. Whoops, header 3. Let's see how that looks. Too small. Header 2. Okay, perfect. Now, let's also see how this is going to look on a portrait mode. So we're going to shrink this down. Okay, you know, it's not my favorite, but sometimes we have to make do with what we have. And perfect. That's pretty much, I don't think that looks too bad on mobile. Okay, now these sections all have to be edited as well. Now I'm going to show you a quick trick here. Sometimes the best thing that we can do is actually make edits to the desktop version of the design. That doesn't change the front end design, but it makes it to where it will actually show up well on a mobile device. What do I mean by that? So if we're looking at this, we can see that these are right on top of each other. That doesn't really look very good. Okay, so these are right on top of each other. What I want to do is I'm going to actually put just a little bit of a gap between here by adding a little bit of a margin. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add a top margin. Let's see if I can even find that at. Okay, right here I'm going to unlink the slide and I'm going to put probably like a 0.5 margin in here. See how much that comes down, just a little bit there. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to do the same thing. Oopsie daisy, that's not what I wanted. What was that on? I have to get back to that. Okay, that was on 1. Got to make sure that you're editing the right thing here. Whoops. Go back to products. Top margin is going to be a 0.5. Whoops, we got to make sure those are unlinked. Unlink and 0.5. And this one is going to, we're going to unlink. Sometimes it's tricky. There's so many little boxes in here. Okay, right there and 0.5. Okay, now let's look at this on the front end. Now we've got little gaps right here. And that looks okay. Normally we would want these to sit up by each other, but the way that the X theme is going to set this out, it's going to make it a little bit too difficult to actually edit. So we're actually going to leave this like this. Let's maybe see what it looks like to center all of these. So if we have a column here, let's look at the row and let's see what would happen if we center the whole row. So that looks good on, let's see here, let's do this again. You know what, we're just going to leave it like that because that looks pretty good. It's a little bit too much space in between here. I don't know that I like that much space. So let's see if we can't, I'll show you a quick little trick here. We're going to go back to here. We want this much space on the desktop, okay? We want that much space on desktop. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to write a quick little short code, and I'm going to type in MAN. That is going to get rid of my margins. Okay, so that's going to pull that up. I'm going to click on the section, and I'm going to take off the padding here. Okay, so now let's look at this on mobile. That's actually too close, so let's add just a little bit more, maybe 20. Let's do 30. Okay, that looks great. Now we've got a problem here of this is too close on desktop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an element, and I'm going to pull in the gap element. And I'm only going to have this gap element applied to, I'm going to go back to the distance that I was at. That looks about right. And I'm going to make sure that this element is only going to show on a desktop. So I'm going to go to Customize, and I'm going to hide this on my mobile devices. So if I go over here, that is now hidden. If I were to take this off, it would add it in here. See that? So pretty cool, right? I can hide these different elements based on the screen size. So we don't always have to create multiple sections to get our desired result. Sometimes we can do it by just hiding certain elements, but other times we do have to create completely new sections. We actually could have gone after this a different way to where we could have kept this same section and actually duplicated this element. So if I wanted to go ahead and duplicate this element right here, I could have actually hidden this one. I I could have actually hidden this element. Sometimes you can't hide certain elements. I don't think you can hide the classic elements. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. Okay, so if I go ahead and hit save here, let's look at our front end result. Let's drag this in. Now that learn more is actually a little bit too big. I'm going to shrink that down a little bit. So again, we're going to have an issue here because of the fact that we have, I'm going to do a custom headline, classic custom headline. Let's see if we can't hide this. This is one of those weird, we may have to add in a little bit of a code. We're going to pull up, we're going to do mobile classes. Okay, so this is a, if you need access to this, send me a message and I will get this to you, but this is a, these are the different short codes that we can write to hide certain elements when Cornerstone doesn't have them available. So I'm actually going to copy this whole thing and I'm going to duplicate this. So this is doing the exact same thing that when I hid the element before with the little customizer, but that's not available for the classic element. So I'm going to click on this, I'm going to leave this alone, and I'm going to hide this on all the large screen sizes. So this is actually going to delete all of it because I'm hiding on every single screen right now. Whoops, I think I gotta hide that in the class instead. There we go. See, just deleted. So I don't want this to be hidden on the small ones. So I'm going to delete this out. So on extra small and small, which would be our portrait and landscape modes. So if I switch over to here, we should see 2 of them. Okay, cool. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to make this a header 3 to make it a little bit smaller. And let's look at that. Cool. Now it should not be on there. Perfect. Now we need to make sure that we hide this on the smaller devices. So we're going to paste that code back in and we're going to make sure that these are hidden on the small and the large. It's kind of exactly what we're doing. We're just doing it through code this time instead. So now that small section should be hidden on this. Pretty cool, right? Whoop, looks like it got rid of our looks like it got rid of our man code. There we go. Sometimes it's a little finicky to where you have to type those out. Okay. All looking good, and this should shrink down. Okay, let's go ahead and hit save. Now if you remember, this was sitting with a real big thing right there. Hit refresh. And now that'll shrink it down. Perfect. Exactly what we want. Okay, now this is all looking perfect. That is essentially how you optimize a page for mobile. This is not my favorite right here, so I'm actually going to go in and edit that as well. But I'm not going to show that on this video because that's a little bit more in depth. Okay, thanks for watching and let me know if you have any questions.